the agenda. James is making that. Any other changes to the agenda before we?
I don't think we can, it's kind of a special meeting of council.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. And with that, we'll move to our budget presentation, and is that Shanda or David? Okay, turn it over to Shanda.
So Sasha has joined now, so hopefully she can hear us. So
Did
just,
anybody let her in?
Yeah, she's in.
she's in there.
Oh, she's in, okay.
I'm not sure how well she can hear us, so.
Maybe use your mic, it might help.
Yeah. All right, so if you go to slide 3, it's just some outstanding questions from the previous budget meeting. So we'll just kind of go through those. We were asked earlier in 2024 for a multi-year commitment from CRC. So I have attached that previous request to the back of this agenda if you guys want to review that again. Now, I'm not sure if you want to kind of go one by one, or if you want me just to kind of go through it all and then go back.
Maybe let's go through it all and then we'll come back and sort of.
Okay,
refresh,
yep.
yeah.
So donation of stars, we had committed to for 2 years, which included the 2024 and 2025 year. Just wanted to touch back on whether council wants to contribute it as part of your grants to community organizations or have its own budget line, as previously discussed. And then I've included information regarding current debenture payments. There was a request from FCSS for additional funding. 2024 capital projects funded by the county. And then I've included the 2025 capital projects and their funding sources as requested. The only other notes I made on here was in regards to recycling and the fee that is on utility bills. I know David has brought an RFD for tomorrow's meeting in that regard, but I just wanted to make note of it on the budget because it will affect the 2025 operating budget depending on what council decides to do.
Okay, I'm just looking at the owl, I'm noticing you're not coming up at all, and you've been the one talking, so I'm wondering.
Probably because the computer's going.
Computers in the way?
Well, it could see me earlier, so
I'm just, yeah, it's
I'm
odd.
surprised. Just
Sorry to interrupt you, Shanda and Mayor. I just want to acknowledge that this week was, I had a previous link from David and a second one sent about 8 minutes ago. So I now logged in. I hope you can hear me. I'm hoping you can.
Yeah.
And I heard the adoption of the agenda and James commented there was no additions in this special meeting, and that's going to go on.
to try and turn you up a bit if we can. Oh, it looks like it's all the way.
There's, no, the volume's up all the way? Okay.
Is it
I
coming
see
from the
plus
TV?
button there.
No, but when we try from the TV, it's like major feedback.
Okay, so that's, yeah, we can hear you and see you, so that's good. Yeah. Okay, so Children's Resource Council for block party event, we can go back to that. 25,000, and that's request is,
So at the very end, after slide 39, their application for sponsorship request, which had been brought to council previously. We just added it back into this agenda so that you guys would have the information. Are you
Page
able to hear
41.
me, Sasha? Are you able to hear me?
Loud and clear, thank you.
Okay, just checking. I'll try and be louder if not.
And I hear the mayor, like the audio is really good.
Awesome.
So I guess for council, any thoughts on this event? It would, at our current funding, would use up our grants to organizations and everything at go to one. But it's. James?
Was this coming out of the council grant, the one that we divvy up amongst, like, where you get 5,000, or is this like something separate entirely?
Well, I guess we could do either or.
Because
But
that
I
one,
would
how
think
much is
it's-
left over at the end of the year in that other one? In the, because there's always a little bit left in that, it seems like, right?
Typically, there has been leftovers, in that. We had made a motion earlier in the year to anything that is not spent from that grant fund to be put over into a community grant reserve, basically.
Right, for something big. And is this, they want this annually, or is this a one-time thing?
They were asking for a multi-year commitment.
And they're asking for 25,000 on the front, and yet when you look at the budget, it looks like it's 18.5 altogether, right? Or 17.9?
Yeah. So what I'm assuming, just from talking from now and this presentation here, is that they probably want to expand every year, make it a little bit bigger. But what he had said was, go big, ask for big.
And maybe John knows, I don't know, but are they going to anybody else to help fund this, or is it just this council?
No, I think he had mentioned in his presentation that they were going to ask others as well.
I'll just give my thoughts on it. 25 grand for what we give out to community organizations, it would be to just one organization for one event. I can't support it for that amount. I think it's a good cause and it's a worthy thing to try to support in part, but to be the sole sponsor of it, I have a tough time with that. But that's my 2 bits. I don't know if they've got any other options there. The rest of you guys, what are your thoughts?
25,000 is a big hit. I mean, if you look at sort of the description of what council is responsible for, council is responsible for roads and services. I don't necessarily consider the Children's Resource Council a service that is provided by the town. I mean, I'm okay with giving them some money towards the event, but not what they're asking. And as you stated, I mean, if we give them the amount that they're asking, there goes our grants to other organizations, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, we have a lot to look at because we have the FCSS, we're requesting extra funding for the bus. What are we doing with STARS? And I'm struggling in a sense that this is the last year for this council, and I don't like binding future councils to something that they may not feel is appropriate or something that they want to support. So that's kind of where I'm at on this. At 25,000, it's a huge no for me.
Okay, and I do know, well, from what I read, is this is for a block party that they had before, but they didn't, I don't believe they came for money to do that block party in the past. So what's changed that they now need $25,000 to do a block party that they worked with Heart River Housing and other entities on would be a question for them, like I just don't. I'm just having problems understanding what they need the money for all of a sudden. What's changed in the block party?
May I weigh in?
Absolutely, go ahead. I can't see you, so what, so you'll have to speak up unless I keep turning around. That's
Okay, you can't, my video's on, I can see myself, like, does no one see me?
no, we all see you, but my back is to the screen,
Oh,
so I don't see you there. Yeah,
okay.
maybe I'll turn
So,
this around and I might be able to see it. Go ahead, Sasha.
So, I'm not sure if you recall, but, Mr. Shirkawi now had told us that, they were recipients of a micro grant for the last event. This was fun, it was a fun event, you know, I think everyone would agree. It was also supported by multiple agencies. So while I think that was such a fantastic gathering of the community, each of the agencies in town did support with prizes, gifts, giveaways, maybe even funding. I will not be supporting this at the $25,000 ask, mainly for these reasons. One, a couple of their council members or board members, Barry Shirkawi, Jeff Shalhoub, have stated that there's a lot of grant funding out there for community events such as this. They are also supported by FRN, the Family Resource Network, which is a big funder. When I was leveraging FRN funds in another municipality, that it's per capita, so there's a lot of funding there. So while I see this was to support you in this quantity, like perhaps Councilor Danaka and yourself, $500 I could do with the watershed for some food and just a sponsorship like that. By all means, I'm also not looking to have this be a multi-year commitment for the reasons already cited. That let a future council decide that. But those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we're at the point that we might need some more information, or maybe we can give them sort of some feedback and say, you know what, 25,000, it would not be well supported, I don't think, because that would chew up our entire grants budget. But if they could come back and say, you know what, maybe we would sponsor the bouncy castle and something else, like some item for a lower amount that we would consider. That's sort of where I'm at, and I don't know, John, can you take that to them?
Yeah, for sure. They're actually meeting tonight, but I agree. I agree with that, and maybe we make it something that is High Prairie, Town High Prairie sponsored, like we paid for one of the rides, because that was one of the things that was a big attraction, is they actually had 3 rides that came in, and maybe we do that and then set up a table there, and we have our questionnaires and things like that, talk about what's happening in the town, whether it's waiting for the kids to get off the ride and things like that. Might be something to look at.
Okay, so we've got, at this point in time, for the ask, I think from a agenda point of view is it's at. However, we would consider something else and maybe some specific funding for one item or two
Yeah.
or something that would be less, and they can get back to us on that. We would consider it out of our grants budget. So moving on then to the next outstanding question there was the donation to STARS, where it was committed for 24 and 25. Where do we want that money to come out of, right? Does it come out of? And in 24, where did it come out of?
In 24, it was included in the grants to community organizations.
Why would you ask where we put it somewhere different?
I believe it was Councillor Wakel that had brought that question up at a previous meeting to have it as its own separate line item in the operating budget. So if we do have it as its own separate line item, we would have to increase expenses by the $5,000. Or we just continue as is and paying it out of the community grants.
Can we pay it out of the community grants, but have it, like, just reduce the community grant by however much we're gonna give to STARS, and then just put that into the STARS line? I would really like to see this as a separate line item on the budget. But, you know, and not increase the budget necessarily, just however much we were gonna give. How much did we give last year? Was it 4?
It was 5,000.
5? So take 5 out of the grants to community organizations, reduce that one by 5, create a new line for STARS, and just have 5 in there.
That's doable as well.
I think it's gotta be under the grants to community organizations, because it is a grant to an organization, so I think it should fall under that, but if it's a line item underneath that, they all end up as a line item, but I'm fine, yeah, either way. It's still gonna reduce our grants available to other organizations, but that's okay, that's one of the ones we picked.
So I just wanted some clarification on what direction you guys wanted to go with that.
Okay, did you get what you needed?
Yep.
All right.
Clear as mud.
Very good, yep.
And we see the debenture slide moving on. Any questions about the debentures?
So you see that the aquatic center was complete at the end of this year. So that one has fallen off, will be falling off the list. I've kept it on here just so you can see it's complete. And the next one will be the Gordon Buchanan Center in 2027.
Well, we paid off a couple of the big ones that we've had over the last few years, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, no questions on this. We're moving on then to request from FCSS for additional funding.
So that is on slide 5, and what you're gonna see there is a breakdown of the High Prairie FCSS costs that I have received from Big Lakes County. I was told that a presentation was done, but I unfortunately was not a part of that, so this is what I was given. So I'll let you take it from there.
Okay. Now I'm trying to remember, like there's the total cost, the deficit between what they're spending and what each partner's been contributing, there's a difference of, call it 52,000. And I believe what they were asking was for half of that 52,000, so it'd be another 26,000. Is that what you guys remember?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And the big item in there was the bus, which was 46,000.
Yeah, I think the bus was that main ask it.
And I know in the presentation, they were saying that the bus is used a lot by High Prairie people and lodge people and mostly the seniors, but it's available to anybody.
So was this an item that was gonna go to the ICF for further discussion?
Well, they could discuss it, but it would come back here and say, what does council wanna do?
Okay.
Like they've made the request that our council supports this. And so, I mean, it's up to our council to decide yea or nay. However, with that in mind, it might be one of those things where for myself, I'd like to see the total ask, because there is some asks for this and for this and for that, to see them all together to say, there's the impact, to deal with one separately. Yeah, I mean, we can do that, but I'd like to sort of see the total, because I've heard that there might be some other things that they're asking, funding for. So that's kind of where I'm at.
FCSS or the county?
No, the county. They might have other things that they're looking for, so.
So just so I'm clear here, this 46.3 here, half the total bus cost is, so that's what they want us to pay? Like, on the bus is $93,000 a year, am I understanding that right? Or are we paying half of this 46?
Like, again, I can't remember the conversation exactly what they were asking for, but I believe it was half of the loss that they suffer each year, or that they experience each year, not suffer, but. And right now, they say that the loss that they have is 52,000.
So they want 26.
That's what I remember, but I could be, maybe they only wanted 23 to cover half the bus or something, but I thought it was half of the total.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's what I. So we do have an ICF meeting coming up next week, huh? Next week? Or the week after? It's the week after.
February 4th, I think.
Yeah, the week after, so, maybe this is one of those things that we can ask about at the ICF and clarify exactly what they want and sort of get an idea of some of the other asks, so we have that total picture when we're trying to deal with it. Are we all right with that? We'll make sure we bring that up at the ICF. All right, so moving on then to 2024 capital projects funded by the county, slide 37. Because I know we had the list and then they had to sort of approve that list of what they were gonna supply, right? And
So what you see on that slide is the motion directly from Big Lakes County on the 2024 projects that they would help fund. With that being said, they do have an $800,000 cap. So the total amount of projects that they've approved to help fund is actually more than $800,000.
What page is this on?
37.
37. Thank you. Okay.
Now, what happens, because they only pay once they receive receipts, is my understanding, and there's, the water treatment plant is 628 that we haven't spent. Is that gonna get carried over? Is that the,
That is my assumption, that it will carry, and we'll bring them a new list for 2025 for new projects to fund
okay,
for 2025.
I think we need to be very clear
Clear.
with them.
Yes, absolutely. So I will touch base with David.
Okay, because yeah, I know there was issues in the past where they wouldn't allow it to be carried forward like we
Okay.
thought.
Okay,
It
'cause-
was on the water too, wasn't
And
it?
there was on water too.
yeah. What they had said is that, yeah, we can't bill them for their portion of the project until the project is completed. So I will get some clarification.
Okay,
Shanda, through the mayor, may I ask what the difference between the highlighted ones are and the ones that are not highlighted?
So the highlighted ones are the projects that the county is approving for the funding. So you'll see in their motion, county allocation item numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 11 from the table below be approved for the 2024 capital project funding for the town. So we had brought them this whole list, but they only selected the ones that they would approve for funding.
and the only one, or well, there's
Thank
two that have been completed.
Yes.
And the other three have not been completed. So
Correct.
yeah, it's gonna be important to make sure we can carry that funding over.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we can move on then to the next question, which was the 2025 capital projects and funding sources.
So before we touch base on that one, there was 2 additions to the capital projects. I had to add the aquatic center fire alarm replacement into the carry forward, as the alarm was ordered in 2024, but the actual work was not completed until January 20th, actually. So we just need to carry that funding forward into 2025.
It was one of the ones that was identified in 2024.
It wasn't in the first presentation that we had done in December 9th, because I assumed, I thought it was completed, but I found out otherwise. It was just completed January 20th, actually.
Okay,
So, and then the other one that was added is in the new capital projects for 2025. And it's for the heating and cooling units on the Moose Tooth building.
yeah, I saw those ones.
So if Mike has anything he wants to add to that, he can.
You got it loud enough, voice, we'll hear you.
Well, going with Sasha here on the thing.
Well, we'll see if Sasha can hear.
So,
Speak loud.
I think you guys remember before Christmas, we had to spend money on one of the units, it cratered and, there was no parts for it, so we replaced it, and that was on December the 23rd. I think the cost was around 31, something like that, but the crane costs were over $6,000. So, thinking that because of that cost, we figured, well, why don't we do all the units at once and save ourselves lots of money with crane costs? Because if we do 1 or 2 at a time, well, every time it's gonna be a hit, $6,000 hit. So, and those units are actually obsolete. They are, no more parts for them. We have a contracting company that, preventive maintenance company that works They have contracted Nordic, and they say that they're past their due date, like big time. So, like I say, we replaced one that fit. People in the upstairs had to go work from home for a period of time. So it's only a matter of time before it happens again with the rest of the units.
Okay, so, and I see the pictures here, there's quite a few units up there. And so you got a budget of $150,000 for all of those units.
So there's 5 more to do.
Okay.
And the price that Nordic gave us was about 100, I think it's 134 maybe, but that's based on 2024 pricing. If the 2024 units are sold, if this gets passed, and we have to buy 2025 units, you're looking at 15% more. So that's why we were asking for the 150 to make sure that they're safe.
Okay. I'm just thinking ahead to how we get this. I mean, I know we need to get the capital budget approved so that you can get started on some of these projects and make sure they get completed and get the best pricing and get the contractors lined up for the spring when a lot of these would need to take place. So it's I guess the idea is to go through this list and say either yay or nay to them, and if they're a yay, then it's good, then the administration can get started in making these happen. Is that the goal?
We'd like to get it approved tonight.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure. Because, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to get these things done.
No. I think the fact that we got an extra 9 years out of them, I don't know, you know, these things, we got away with it, right? And like Mike said there, it's what, $6,000 to rent that crane?
Yeah, 6,000 for one unit, and it's about, well, I think it was 62 for one unit and 65 to do the other 5. It's all about the truck coming back and forth. It's not about the time we're spending here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
just
they
do
don't
them all
move
at
very
once.
quick.
no.
Okay, well, maybe so we have those 2 additions to the capital list for 2025. But maybe before we do that,
Sorry
Oh.
sorry to interrupt.
Yep,
I'm not sure who this question is going to go to, but I noticed the 2 additions. Was there a third? Generation, that's obviously a capital ask. It's not something that the town is normally committed to capital. We split operating costs on the airport. However, they were going to send a letter to this council knowing that we were entering into budget deliberations today. David or Shanda, do you have that ask? It's in the $5,000 range for roof extension for safety purposes. There's snowfall that accumulates that put us into just increase our liability, and that was the ask for the south side roof extension. Has that come in? Because I don't see it in this list.
I haven't received anything.
Just to clarify, Sasha, where was that for? Cause we're having some internet issues.
but it would be with the county. It's the
At the
county.
airport?
Yeah, at the airport.
South side.
Okay, no, I have not received anything in regards to the airport.
But it's a heads up that it's there, right there, and
Unless
Therese had mentioned it also earlier in,
Unless something is, unless something changed, maybe, from there, it's possible that something. I doubt if they found another solution to it, but let's see that.
okay, well, let's sort of go through the capital projects and then we'll get to the 2025 ones. But just before we do, I just sort of go through the order that you had them on here and start with the carry forward projects to see if we have any questions and go from there. So starting off twenty twenty-four, we have the water treatment plant upgrades on that. We have the grant, the partnership grant, we've got the Big Lakes County contribution and our section from reserves. Where are we at with that? Has it been, I know we are getting it engineered, and perhaps we can get an update.
We're about 80% done, and I think I informed council at the last budget meeting that we would probably be going to tender approximately May. So that's where we're sitting at right now.
I'm sorry, which project was that?
That's the water treatment plant upgrade. On page 13 here, yeah. Okay, so it's just, nothing really changed, it's still being engineered and.
We're just about completed engineering, yes. And I can speak to the other two that they're going to be included into that tender when it goes out as items B, A. The water plant will be A, the riverbanks, our stabilization will be B, and the backup will be C in that contract.
Okay, you're gonna put it out as one contract versus?
With separate items in it, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is, not really related to that, but we were going to be doing engineering of that road from Esso to the railway out there.
It's coming up.
That's coming up. It just occurred to me. And Highways is doing this in 27, the main highway, is that the?
Yes.
Okay. What are the chances that we could piggyback? They're gonna be here. What's another 2 blocks to them, right?
Part of it if we should wait till 44th comes up in the 2025 budget, because there is more information
Okay,
that we can discuss at that point.
okay, yeah.
Vern, just just when you're saying you're combining all of these, my initial just off the top is going, somebody that's coming up with a generator, for backing up the power may not be the same company that wants to come in and upgrade the water treatment plant.
That part there is gonna be all conducive. Everything that's being done in the water plant, the general contractor would be doing that anyway, the generator part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's all getting built into the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So they've got to go around and get the quotes from probably somebody is going to be a different person or a
They'll
different
have
company that would stabilize the.
they'll have subcontractors, yes.
Okay. So any questions on water treatment plant upgrades, raw water power backup, or raw water bank stabilization? Okay, I don't see any, so we'll go on to the arena natural gas furnaces. And where are we at with those? I know there was looking for grants again and whistle potential, I see them there.
Yeah,
Do you want to come up and maybe just come closer, so then they can hear you, yeah. We'll get you right on the camera. Yeah, you can sit there. We should actually get them all on the table.
So I'm working with municipal climate change, the government initiative. I had my Zoom meeting with them. They pre-approved us for 4 new furnaces. It's about 50 to 65,000. That is the estimate. No one has come back to me yet with it. I've had 2 contractors who, one has already come in, Smoky River Contracting out of High Prairie. While he was looking at it, said our hot water tank is about to go as well. It's past its due date. So I asked him to include that into the estimate because this grant also does do water tanks. It's municipal, it's climate, how to reduce emissions, and become more energy efficient which in return will lower our electricity bills and gas consumption. I spoke to him again about that, and he said, yeah, throw the water tank into there, because most likely we can group it together and approve the grant that way. So that's where we are. I'm waiting for Smoky River to come back with an actual estimate, and Nygaard has not yet arrived, but should be hopefully this week. So we'll have the two estimates. Couldn't get anyone else didn't want to take it on, or just too busy, so. And both contractors have been advised that this would not be done until the summer, once the ice is out and there's no one there. So that's where we sit right now with the furnaces.
Okay, perfect. I love the fact that we got a grant and it's pre-approved. That's wonderful. Good work, yeah.
So the Zoom meeting is for pre-approval. Once I go over my presentation with them, they give the yes or no to move forward on to the next stage. He gave me approval. So now I just need to submit my cost analysis for electricity and gas consumption and fill out the forms, but I can't do that without my estimates. So we're kind of at a standstill for a bit until they come in.
And I imagine it's not easy to separate the gas consumption, for the Sports Palace, how much was the furnaces, how much were for other things in there, like we've got the overhead heaters in there, what percentage went to furnaces, what to that, so I don't know how you separate that.
I kind of got a breakdown when we get our utilities bill, and then the program that I have to use to submit all this information kind of breaks it down as well. He was very nice. He said he'd work with us. He thinks it's a grant they should approve. Again, should and will is two different things.
Oh, okay, it's not,
But
yeah.
it's not 100%, but he said so far from what I presented, yes, it is something they would fund.
And what's the grant for? What percentage of
Up to 100%.
up to?
Yeah.
So we have to wait and see what.
Once we finalize all the documents and I submit, then they have a committee that reviews it. So it's not just him who approves it, it's a committee. And if they see it as a right fit, then we get approval. And then there's steps afterwards that we have to submit and advertise. There's certain criteria you have to meet after to show that this is the grant we received.
I know it's tough, but any ideas on timelines on when you will get either a yay or a nay on the grant? Because you gotta get those other pieces first before you get the approval, but I'm just trying to,
He said 3 to 6 weeks.
3 to 6 weeks. That's not bad.
He said it's a quick turnaround because we've already done a pre-approval. But again, it depends on that committee who has final say.
Fantastic. Any other questions on that? No, that's great. It's good to hear that it's moving ahead and we've got a good potential for a grant. That's awesome.
So you will see that I have put it as coming out of reserve, just because we don't have that final approval, not sure yet.
Yeah.
Because if we don't get it and these furnaces do go down, we're not gonna have heat. So it's kind of we need to do this grant or not, right?
Okay, no, that's good. Hopefully we can get the grant to save up.
And I'll also put in the hot water tanks into that grant because he said they're 10 years old and they usually last about 8. So we've got our money's worth out of it. However, it will need to be changed quite soon.
How many hot water tanks are in there for that? Is that just for the hot water tanks for the dressing rooms on the one side, or is it for
It was just the one.
just the one?
Yeah, it was just the one when he was going through, looking at all the furnaces, and that was the one. And Rick had mentioned that's where it was.
Yeah, okay. Well, and maybe there's other ones that are due to be replaced too, right? I don't know. We might wanna, if there's other ones to be replaced, see if we can toss those in there too.
They have to fall within a certain due date.
Yeah,
So if they qualify, yes, they will be here.
okay. All right, anything else? I don't see anything else. So move on then to the lift station number 3.
Update, contract has been signed and they have started to order materials for that job.
ETA? Like when will it be done, kind of thing, is it?
As early as October and as late as January of next year.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, I just see, is this the budget of 1.428 accurate with what the contract was signed for?
Yes.
All right, moving on to sidewalk replacement program. Where are we at with that?
So the sidewalk replacement program for 2024 wasn't completed, so we're asking for that portion to be carried forward for this year.
Okay, now, and this is, I think we asked this question last time, I don't know if we got another answer, but I heard from MMSA that they had done a sidewalk assessment, but then I heard, I think that they hadn't done a sidewalk assessment, so we don't have that sidewalk assessment done. Has it been confirmed one way or the other, do we know?
They didn't do a full sidewalk assessment.
What did they do, do you know?
I think they just had some hours to use up and they looked at some of our sidewalks. We need 100% sidewalk assessment, like a proper company to come in and do the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then we will know what we're dealing with.
Will MMSA do that for us?
I don't know.
It's a question we could ask, for sure.
Okay. Well, and if not, like they say, I know there's other companies that do that.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if MMSA will do that as part of the 100,000 that we pay them every year.
So when they had done the little bit of sidewalk assessment, that was part of the grant that a bunch of communities had put in to get this fancy little machine. So yeah, she had a couple hours left, so that's kind of what she did. She took some pictures and mapped it out. So, but it's not a full assessment.
Okay. Well, and maybe there's more grant dollars for getting that assessment done too, right? If there was grant dollars previously, I'm wondering if that grant's still available and it's something that we can apply.
Yeah, and that grant was actually applied to through MMSA, so I'll have that conversation with Comete and see if it's something that it can be applied for again.
Yeah. Because, yeah.
If not, MSI Capital will jump in and we can do this through MSI, or LGFF is now what it's called, so.
Because I agree, yeah, it's something that needs to get done, that sidewalk assessment, so we know where we're at and come up with a long-term plan. It's all part of the asset management plans, right? Get that information on our asset management plan and in the computer so you can look it up and see where they're at. All right, so moving on, Aquatic Center fire alarm upgrade. I know it's done. That's wonderful, that's great. Did it come in on budget at 30,000?
So I haven't received the invoice yet on any of it, so that's why we need to carry forward the funding, but it should have stayed within budget.
And won't have an invoice to us until we have the engineer and Siemens come up and do a certification. So until that certification comes, and it takes about a month to book them in. So Grant has booked it in, we haven't got a date yet. But once they come up, they will assess it, confirm it's in correct working order, certify it, and then we will be invoiced for it. Currently, it is in working order, it's good to go, every system works, it's just waiting for the stamp of approval.
Good.
Which is standard.
Good to see it getting done. All right, moving on, or unless there's any other questions on that. Network upgrades. Remaining network upgrades, where are we at with that?
So we're just working at getting our contractor that we've hired and getting WBM together, as some changes had to be made, and through Christmas and whatnot, was delayed a bit, so we need to just carry forward the remaining amount to complete that project.
So what's remaining? I saw the budget was 20,000.
Yeah.
And was anything done?
Yes, yeah,
So how much is remaining?
approximately 20,000.
Oh, okay, what was the total budget?
Total budget was, I believe, 50 or, yeah, around 50, a little bit more, between 50 and 60.
Okay. So some is done, but not all of it.
It's not completed yet. So we're just carrying forward the amount that's not completed yet to get the project finished up.
Okay, moving on to 52nd Avenue deficiencies. Where are we at with that one?
They're supposed to be back first thing in the spring. If they're not back by the end of June, we will be pulling that money from their holdback and hiring another contractor to finish the deficiencies.
Okay. Good. All right, and there's 165,000 left in that. That's
That's the holdback, yeah.
the total of that. Okay. All right, so now 2025 list. Is there a, I thought I saw one in here, sort of a list of everything.
So when you get to slide 38, it puts together all the carry forward and new 2025 projects with the funding sources.
So 38 is there. The okay, I'm just trying to get my head around all of them when we go to look at individual ones, because individually they're easy, but when you add them all up, you gotta know what you're at. So the total ask for is 2.7 with everything, right? Is that what I'm seeing?
That is for the new 2025
For the
project.
new stuff, yeah, for
Yeah.
2025.
So with the carry forward and the new stuff, it's about 8.2.
Okay. All right, so let's go through our list one at a time and see if it's approved or not approved, and we can move on, right? So we've got the Public Works line painter. And I know we heard about, this one's been cobbled together for many periods of time. And the cost is around 10,000. Anybody have any objections to that?
Not an objection, but is that new or, yeah, okay.
Okay, no other objections? Okay, so I'm gonna say that's approved. Moving on then to the fire department's AFRAC radio, their ask is for 23,000. And again, we heard that this was so that they can communicate with the other fire departments and the police when they're at an emergency. They have some, but not enough that they can all communicate. Any discussion on this one? No, approved. Playground equipment, town park. The budget, 100 to 200,000. Do we have any more information on that? Is it 100, is it 200, or is it whatever we would spend? Because
So it's depending on how extravagant council wants to go with what we put out there. But we can get funding through LGFF for the playground equipment. CHAM had applied for a grant. They were not approved.
yeah, so that one, the ATCO, or, no, CN grant, yeah.
I have applied for another one and submitted. It doesn't come out till April or May, or they even approach it.
Go ahead.
Is this all of the equipment that's in there, or just some of it?
Just
Just the one big one.
the older section, the wooden one.
Right.
Closer to 48th Street.
Okay. Because the question has been asked multiple times about an outdoor skating rink. And I know there's that group that's been trying to put one together. And it was mentioned that perhaps take this old equipment out and, like, it wouldn't have to be a full-size rink, just something that's outside. I don't know, I'm not an engineer, I don't know how difficult it would be to maintain that, or, I mean, if it's outdoors and you're gonna use it, you know, the public's gonna have, I mean, hell, when we were kids, we shoveled the rink, right? I mean, that's kind of how it's gonna be, I think, or it's gonna have to be. Is that? On the other hand, we keep chipping away at this poor park, right? There's not gonna be anything left of it pretty soon if we keep putting stuff in there. Skate park took up a quarter of it, and the fire vault took up a chunk, and the Gorby Can Center took up a chunk. That used to be a quarter of the block, and now it's smaller. Just a thought that I had. Because I don't know that group that was out there. I don't know if their partnership with Marigold completely fell apart, or, you know, there's concern about trucks going over the boards into traffic. It's, you know, we should just tell Esso to build a skating rink. You know what I mean? That's, build the damn rink there. I don't know, because that's something that I know that there's still activity on that. I don't know how active they've been. Has anybody talked to you about that outdoor rink?
And I couldn't get any information from them.
Yeah. I think I even pointed him your way. We'll see. Was it Johnny Hess was in on that, eh? I'll talk to him, see where he's at.
And Jerry Bear.
Yeah. I know Johnny a little bit. They still live in town.
I know one of the big drivers was the manager at the RBC, but I think she moved away, and that was where the momentum was lost once that happened.
Well, every time I go into RBC, it's new people in there. I think they just ship them in for a couple of weeks at a time from elsewhere. It's what it kind of looks like. I'll do some digging on that. I don't have I mean, clearly we have to replace this equipment because legalities and safety and all that kind of stuff. But I'll poke around a little bit more and see how much life is in that outdoor rink committee.
Not only that, I'm wondering if it's time that we consider, if we're gonna be putting in a water park, if we consider changing the location of the play park so that they can have a play place over there as well as the water park going on.
The only problem with that is that it's all, the school division owns all that, right? So we'd have to partner with them. And then it becomes their liability because it's their property. And are they gonna sell it to us? And probably won't be for $1. Because eventually, at some point, they're gonna have to replace both of those schools, or expanding them.
And they won't necessarily expand them because enrollments aren't going up.
No, but, I mean, the buildings are, well, they're talking about a new St. Andrews school. Prairie River is probably the newest out of the three, because that was what, in the mid-80s, so they built that. And it just, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Councillor Dinac.
So, the more that I thought about this particular one, I mean, I know, like, in the summer, I see families having picnics and whatnot. But I guess my question is, do we really need equipment in that park? Or can it be just turned into a green space where people can go and have picnics and whatever? Like, we don't need to be expansive with, okay, we wanna have a slide and we wanna have this. Why can't we just have some simple swings, some baby swings, some tired things for the kids to jump through, and that's it? And just leave it as green space. I mean, you know, like, I'm looking at these things thinking, yeah, that's all well and good, but do we really need that? Do we need to go this big in a small space, or can we go this big and keep it minimalistic? Have a slide, have a jungle gym, have some tires and a sand pit, and that's it. You know, like, I don't necessarily think we need, you know, like, climbing walls and things that, you know, to put the budget up to $200,000. You know, simple stuff is just as efficient when you're a family going there for a picnic. You know, that was the only park at one time, and I don't know if there's still, that was the only park at one time with baby swings. Like, let's get some nice swings, and like, it's such a small area that, you know, we're taking this green space away by adding all of this extra stuff that personally I don't think needs to be there. What I'd like to see, I would really like to see something a little bit more attractive than an ugly piece of shit chain link fence around there, because it's a beautiful park. You know, and I mean, I understand with sightline and all the rest of that stuff, but there has to be something we can do with that park. And that's just me. I would like to keep it as simple as possible. Some swings, slide, you know, some climbing stuff or whatever, but that's it. Because most people I see there in that park, their kids are just running in the grass, having a good time, and they're sitting at the tables with their Kentucky Fried Chicken or pizza or whatever they have, or their birthday party. That's what I see there. I don't see people, kids jumping around on stuff. They're just having a good time running in grass. And to me, I don't really think we need to spend $200,000 on that park. It'd be nice to spruce it up a little, but not at that cost. And that's just me.
Okay. Joyce? Councillor Yashishi? I wonder how formal it'll be today.
I'm just wondering too, because don't some of the schools, or a couple of the schools, anyways, the younger, St. Andrews maybe is the one I'm thinking of, do they not have some kind of equipment to some degree? I know I see, you know, after hours, evenings, weekends. I'm just trying to picture in my mind what that looks like compared to what that is. I've never compared the two, you know, but, you know, I'm thinking it's nice to have that because I do see families out and they're supervising their kids on them. So I would hate to take something like that away, totally. But if the schools have it, we probably aren't, and then we could scale it down slightly, or maybe just really look at ways in the schools there, but, yeah, because the cost is quite up there. Mind you, if we have grants, that's another story too, right? So I'd like to explore that. part of it.
Okay, our recreation manager wants to speak, so get her to come up.
So St. Andrews and the elementary do have playgrounds, but I believe our town park is the only one that has the baby swings. So,
And during the day, when school's in, you can't use the other ones.
correct.
So, looking into this, a nice playground is about 100,000. Like a nice, even better than the other one that's located in the town park. So 100,000 will get you quite a nice one with some additions. The sand is expensive, and that's where we're gonna see the cost, because a lot of the areas in our inspection was about the quality of the sand and how little is it, if there is in some sections where the cement is showing. So that's where you're gonna see $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 cost. However, with your idea, if we were to just purchase a slide, a couple swings, baby swings, that is feasible. That would be about 30,000, give or take, removing some of the sand. I've had a lot of people question why we don't have basketball courts.
Don't have what?
Basketball courts that are open to the public. Only basketball courts available are on school property. And are not made to be basketball courts. They're just old, no lines, no nothing. So another option, without having to spend 100,000 or 200,000, would be to introduce basketball courts in that area with kids slide or kids swings. That is an option that we can look into and see what that would cost.
Okay.
Well, we used to have the hoops at the Sports Palace there. I don't remember why we took them out. I think we resurfaced the parking lot and the holes got covered up or something. That was quite some time ago. But like we used to have in the parking lot there at the Sports Palace, the basketball hoops, and they were, I don't think they ever got trashed particularly. I think they were very well used and whatnot. Sand is expensive. What about recycled tires?
Even more expensive.
Really?
Very.
Ugh.
I looked into it for this project,
Yeah.
and you're looking at about 50,000, 60,000. Yeah, they said it skyrocketed in the last year or so. It went from affordable to unaffordable for a lot of people. This town park, I've been spending some thoughts on it because I do think, again, with what Donna had said, that there already is a park there. But we do need the baby swings, because that's important. There is nowhere else to go for that. But seeing maybe the green space with basketball courts or the volleyball court is something that offers more recreational activities without breaking the bank. And still giving families access to St. Andrews and the elementary in the summer months. Another food for thought, I've been approached by Pratt High School. Beach volleyball has taken off in High Prairie, and it's gaining momentum, and there's no outdoor facilities, locations, no indoor facilities, other than at schools, which are all booked up. He will be approaching us in the next month or so to collaborate on something together. They've offered to find the funding and then pass it on to us, and then we maintain it. And it will cost about $75,000 to build it. And so they will be approaching us eventually, just giving you guys a heads up, that they will do everything for it if we will just maintain it after.
Okay,
Building things is easy.
yeah.
And are they, like, are we thinking at the park or at the,
No.
at the schools?
Right beside the pool. So that was also part of it. The request is they want to use our land. But they would do it start to finish, fence it, so that it would be locked. So
Wow.
that you wouldn't have access to it unless you're part of their society.
It'd be hard to say no, because that was originally their land when they gave it to us to do the pools. So, yeah, look forward to seeing that pool.
Councilor Daneka.
I just have a question. If you just put in like a set of, like swings, you know, like 2 swings, 2 baby swings or 3 baby swings, and a slide or whatever, do you have to have sand there? Do you have to have sand under the swings and under the slide? Because it's just going on the grass. They're just swinging on grass.
I'd have to look into that.
You have to have sand.
I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look into it, sorry. I'd have to look into that and see what the regulations and rules are.
I would think that it's quite a good possibility there has to be something to, like, sand or the rubber, I would think.
As a kid, we got dirt and then.
We used to have monkey bars in their bend, you know, so. So with swings, yeah, if it's hard ground or the grass gets worn, which it will be, and somebody cracks their head on the rough dirt. So the liability ones, you have to have it, or rubber material.
And in here, it talks about LGFF funding, because that, basically, that funding can be used for any of our capital projects, right? Or for most part, it's the money from the province that we
Yeah,
would use.
There is certain stipulations
Yeah.
and whatnot, but
But if we didn't use it here, we would use it somewhere else. We can use that in other projects for sure.
So CM will look into the different options, but, you know, if we could, it's up to council to approve, you know, 200,000 or 100,000 or 150,000. But if we can go ahead with something related to playground, I mean, that's a decision for you to make tonight. Rather than not make the decision and then have her come back another time. It's up to you though.
we can also put some designs together, some different options and bring those forward to you as well.
So we may not spend 200,000, but, you know, we can cap it at that for now and see how costly or less costly these options are.
And if you can, like, when you're doing that research, if you can, bring us back a report on risk standards. So the risk standards, so that we are clear on them, because, I mean, there's some fields out there that still, with slides on them that still end in hard ground. So I'm just wondering if it's because we're building new or building something new, if that increases the standard that we have to follow. But yeah, if you could do that, that'd be good.
That is part of it, is, this playground today would never be approved and would never have been built. But because it's grandfathered in, they allow some concessions, but this in today's time, never, ever be allowed, like they wouldn't approve it.
My thinking is, at this point, maybe if we could agree on a dollar amount, let's say it's 100 or 150, and then, like I say, come back with some designs. And if, let's say we said it was 100, but once you got some price quotes and some things, you could bring them back and say, look, for 120, we could get this. Then we could, you know, up it a little bit. But I think, you know, those conceptual drawings of what you would get, sort of an estimate, and go from there. Would that be something that council could live with? What would that dollar amount be? 100,000 to start?
Yeah.
All right.
Does that include removal of the old stuff, or just let Mike and the boys get in there and have fun
Yeah, have it there one day.
before lunch?
And that's not exaggerated.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody's all right with 100,000 for playground equipment at this point, and with the ask, okay, we've got one no. Do we have any other no's? I don't see any other no. Oh, Sasha wants to speak up. Go ahead, Sasha.
Well, Mayor, I'm just trying to, recap what CHAM had said about, the sand and basic equipment. So CHAM, correct me, about 30,000 for the sand, is that the right number or no?
That's just an
I'm just
estimate.
doing some rough.
When I was speaking with someone, roughly a basketball court size is about 30,000.
Okay, and then you said that to purchase basic equipment, a couple of baby swings, a slide. Did I hear you say somewhere in that $30,000 to $50,000 would get us that equipment? Is that correct?
You can purchase each feature individually, but they don't give you prices unless you actually go in and request it and have a meeting with them. But I have called other municipalities, and each one is about $1,000 to $5,000 individually. So I would think it's still about that same price range. However, we're now in a new year, so things have changed. So when I made these calls, they were in 2024.
Right, so I completely hear your liability from the last conversation we had. So when Councillor Janaka sort of is a no, what would you support, Councillor Janaka? Are you thinking in that $75,000 range? Are you thinking of closing the park? Are you thinking of just green space, which is probably a one-time cost to make it green space? What was your thought there? Because, you've got a valid point. I mean, everything's a want. We would love to have a lot of things. I see the splash park coming up, a few line items down, so I get it. I'm just curious, Councillor Janaka, if you're willing to share what that dollar amount would be, or what your thoughts were, and just instead of saying no, what would be acceptable?
Councillor Janaka, did you get the question?
Nope.
Oh, okay, she's got her headset on and didn't hear it, so I'll repeat it for her. The question was, what's an acceptable amount for you? What would you?
50.
50. Okay.
Back to CHAM then. Can we source something that's viable for 50,000?
I was just gonna say, when I provide some different ideas, I can provide also different price points. So for 50,000, this is what we can produce. For 75, this is what we can produce, and then for 100,000, this is what we can produce, and kind of give you 3 different viable options that will hopefully, find some middle ground for everybody.
I mean, I wanted to see what is, like what 50,000 can get us, 75, 100. So we have some ideas of, like, okay, this is acceptable. We don't need all this stuff. So I can live with that.
Okay. So we've got coming back, really, we're not approving anything towards it at this point, other than in principle, and we want to see some options then. Does that work? where we're at, bring back some options, but
Okay.
we're in favor, just sort of what are they gonna look like and what can we get at various price points. All right,
Do we want to include it in the capital budget for some amount?
well, yes, it should be included.
So up to 125 or whatever.
Or up to 100.
Well, let's put it in at 100, and if we have to do an increase, we can, but if we want to decrease it, we'll have yeah. All right, moving on then. Capital projects, asphalt resurfacing, budget of 100,000. We had the 45th to 51st, 54th Avenue, east of the fire hall between 48th and 47th Street, and 52nd Avenue from 44th to 46th. So, I guess my question, why those particular areas? What's the issue with them for sure?
Good curb.
What's that?
The curbs are still good.
Oh,
So
okay.
that means that we've got something to join in. But up east. There's a lot of places in town that there's no point in doing the resurfacing because the curbs are no good. So, and there's just too much of this. But these, we can work with those.
And this is just using our equipment and, but getting the asphalt, and to do that. I know the resurfacing that you've done has been good. It seems to hold up in those areas. It seems good from what I see of it. It's so good work with that. And, yeah.
I was just gonna add it, and residents are very appreciative of it as well, rather than waiting contracts, they get it resurfaced. I think everybody does, because everybody drives on the roads, but in particular, the ones that drive them all the time. So, yeah, it's just, I was just amazed. It's lots of job what you guys do there.
Thank you.
This is $100,000, but it saves us millions in rebuilding.
And it's
So,
also saving us time because we're pushing things ahead.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, no, that's, this one's easy.
All right, any other discussion on this item? Does anybody disapprove of 100,000 for resurfacing or not approve? Seeing no objections, then we can consider that approved. Arena doors,
Hold on, go back.
Go back, okay?
So you asked if there was approval on this one.
Yes, or anybody disapprove?
Right. So we were discussing the capital project at the playground, and you never asked that question.
I did, and you said you disagreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You just worded it differently as opposed.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute.
I did a little bit different, yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, arena doors, ask us for $50,000. We've had the discussion on this. They're getting jimmied open, because they can get into them. They want to replace them, so they can't sneak in after hours. Any questions, comments on this one? Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Demack.
Did we ever have, do I remember, did we ever have, not MMSA, but, MNP there, our engineers, did they ever do an engineering assessment on the sports palace? Did we ever have that done? And I remember something, it's got like 15 more years or something left in it. something?
Vern probably can answer that, yeah.
They came in and did an assessment on the beams over the main
Okay,
ice surface is all they did.
okay. And what length did, like, lifetime?
If I can remember correctly, about 15 to 20 years.
All right.
Go ahead, Councilor Wago.
I seem to remember a report done in the nineties, though, that said it had 15 or 20 years left at that point. And, you know, it's one of those things, if you maintain it,
The last.
it lasts. If you don't maintain it, you get to spend $20 million building a new one. So, but yeah, like it's, if you maintain it, yeah, it's gonna, that 15 to 20 years kind of gets kicked down the road some more. Eventually it'll get to the point where, yeah, it's gotta be replaced.
Right.
But, you know, that, I fairly clearly remember them saying in the nineties that it had 15 or 20 years left. And I hate to tell you all, the nineties was more than 20 years ago now.
Well, yeah, I know. So that's sort of where I'm going with this. Like, we've done the roof 3 times, I think, in my 3 terms. We've redone the roof because it's leaked. We put in that new ice surface, the thing out the back there, whatever that's called. We replaced that and whatever, and I mean, I understand the concept of if you don't have an arena or a sports facility, you're going to lose your population because they're going to go elsewhere for hockey, figure skating, et cetera, and stuff. But and I don't want to. But sometimes when I'm looking at this stuff, it's like we're just throwing money after bad, you know, like we're just constantly throwing money, and it's like, okay, that's what for the amount of money we've put into the thing already for 3 roofs, the ice service. I mean, that could be a start on a reasonably priced multiplex or a new arena or something, you know, like it's just. It becomes harder and harder and harder for me to say, okay, well, we need now we're putting furnaces in, and then, I mean, we don't want ammonia leaks, and we don't want to have AHS come in and shut it down because things aren't working properly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, and then, I mean, I'm amazed by the cost of everything in municipal government. Like it's like, here's a hammer, it'll cost you $300, you know, but I can go to Home Hardware and buy one for 10, which is exactly the same. But they just, you know, like, it's just like contractors just want to gouge the shit out of municipalities because they think they have money. You know, they think that these municipalities are rich. I mean, looking at the doors, and this is just for these front doors or all the doors?
No, the, 50,000 is these 6 doors and the 3 once you enter the lobby area into the sports palace. So 9 in total.
To me, $50,000 for doors just does not compute with me. It just makes no sense to me, the cost of everything.
But this is why we go for 3 bids, you know, we put it out to tender so that we don't get gouged. Now you can say, you know, contractors can collude with each other, but by going out to tender, we are doing our due diligence. And when we, you know, if you're amazed now, when we develop the asset management plans, and because that's just on the renewal of existing assets, there is going to be an infrastructure gap. And yes, you'll find in the budget we'll be paying more or costing out more and probably increasing tax rate. So
It's just-
it never ends.
It's just a never-ending
But-
cycle,
But
right?
I'm pretty sure we haven't bought any $300 hammers, but, and we do things at cost as best we can. And, you know, sometimes we have to use contractors and engineers, there's no other way around it.
True, and I mean, I commend the public works people and the maintenance people, because I mean, I know you guys have cut stuff, you know, that's like, okay, I think we can fix this and make it work, so we don't have to spend X amount of dollars on a new jigamabob or whatever, but, you know, like, I understand that you guys are doing fantastic stuff in terms of that regard, but it's just, sometimes it gets really frustrating when you're looking at this stuff and you're like, oh my God, the cost is just exorbitant. And it's like, you know, I mean, and High Prairie is not the only one who faces this, you know, saying, oh my God, like, how are we gonna do this? And yes, there's things in place, you know, like protocols and, you know, tender and all the rest of this stuff. But, I mean, yeah, those doors are bad, like really bad. Those doors are really, really bad. I mean, I would love to get them done for under 50,000. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
So I did have 3 estimates come in. One was 40,000, one was 80,000, and the other was 120,000. Wow. So getting 3 estimates so far apart, I contacted someone else who came in on Friday, who took measurements and estimated it'd be about 50,000. And he is the closest to the next person. So he was a lot more realistic and has done work on the arena before. So he knew a lot of the back information on it and what's in it. So 50,000 sounds reasonable.
And I mean, realistically, I know it's just not the doors. Because I mean, you gotta redo the frames, because you're changing the doors and that whole door jams and everything. So, but it's just like, oh. Sometimes it just becomes overwhelming when you're looking at all of this stuff, right? And I'm like, oh my God. But yeah. That's my rant for my second rant for the evening.
Counselor Wade.
I'm gonna try not to pour any gas on that. Sienna's actually got a really good plan for the Sports Palace. She's revisioned a lot of it. The upstairs where the gymnastics was and where all those interior walls are, a lot of those, they're not needed because it was all put up there when court was up there back in the 80s. So she's revisioned a lot of that stuff can come out, and then we can bring more stuff in there, and then it really does become the multiplex that it can be. We have underutilized space in there, and CM took this job and it was like she was on fire. She just went through there like, holy cow, this is what we could do. And I just love her enthusiasm and her vision that she has for the entire rec department. So yeah, this is, people want a multiplex, we have one. We just have to create it out of what we have.
Can I just add to it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, although I'd love to build a brand new facility, that's 20, 50.
20, yeah, 100 million.
So I know that's unrealistic. I do know that the arenas have been neglected over the last 20, 30 years. Very little money has been into it. I've investigated other municipalities and what they spend on the recreation per year, and a lot of these facilities, which only have one arena, spend more money than we do in 1 year. I am putting a report together for the GRC. But looking at Manning and other facilities, a lot of them spent the exact same amount of money we did and have one facility and a newer facility. So I'm trying to show the comparison of what we've spent over the last 10, 15 years to what it is today compared to what others are, so that we have an idea of where we are in the bigger picture. these two facilities have potential, but they require a lot of money. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. You know, neglect after neglect, well, now everything's breaking down at the exact same time and has been for years, where now it costs double the amount of money if we did it 15 years ago. So you're gonna see major projects that need to come up to it. Envisioning a multiplex upstairs, it's underutilized, it's prime location, the arenas are the most used facility in all of High Prairie. So if we can draw on other reserves, other income potential, it requires us to renovate and to make it what it can be. Same goes for the GBC upstairs in the party room behind it. It's not used right now, it's prime location. I've asked a contractor to see how much it will cost to complete the ductwork so that OHS would approve it so that we can start utilizing it and renting it out for money. We've lost gymnastics, they're no longer bringing in $1,000 a month, so we have to find other solutions. Renovating, I did have a verbal estimate of what it would cost to do upstairs in the gymnastics room, that I call gymnastics room. It's over $200,000 to bring it up to par to what it needs to be, because things have been ignored. There's been leaks over the years. There's currently many leaks that are taking place in the sports palace that need to be addressed before we do anything else.
We just did the roof.
We have currently 3 different leaks taking place within the same amount of time, all in different locations. Unfortunately, the roofing companies that have come out have done not patchwork, but minor revisions to certain spots. We need one company to come out and do the entire thing, start to finish, because the seams where they connect from old to new is where we're finding the leaks.
Yeah, I know those old to new was, like I said, we've had those roofs repaired many times and they focused on where they join and even had the engineers out to look at it and make sure it was repaired properly. And so to hear that it's leaking again is very disappointing.
I did contact the company who last worked on the roof. They're out of Edmonton. They did come up and determine that the leaks that they're having now are not the leaks that he repaired. They're in a different section. So, because it was still under warranty, but.
Yeah, we had the whole, I mean, the sports palace itself was redone. They fixed the Gordon Buchanan Center. They fixed the dressing room areas and redid all of those, repaired where they joined. So it just keeps, yeah. And that's Donna's frustration and mine also, yeah.
Roof by flex seal.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting sidetracked because that will be budget 2026, some of those things, and some of it will be done on operating budgets and repairs and maintenance, but arena doors, 50,000. Is there anybody that does not approve this? All right, so with that, we will say it's approved. We'll move on. 2025 capital projects, 44th Street construction, and budget currently under review. Now, this was just to do the engineering on it, right?
We did the engineering on it. That was passed in 2024. And with the underground investigation that was done, and Donna's not gonna like this, the budget that was originally placed on 44th Street construction was 1.871360, and it has gone up to 2.986000. But that would be replacing all of the underground. Because the underground is not in that great a shape down there.
2.9.
2.9,
2.9.
2.95
it's gone up $1 million.
million,
3 million.
almost $3
Basically,
million.
yeah.
Well, and let's not forget that our friends down south are threatening us with these massive tariffs as well. So, what we approve today might be blown out of the water on, when's the first Friday? Like, we gotta remember that. I mean, it's gotta be done. This road is, should have gone to gravel. You know, it's just about there as it is.
So you'll see in my summary page on slide 38, I did not include that amount in there because Vern was reviewing the proposal that we have received to see if there was anywhere we could cut back.
Back to my comment earlier in the meeting, like this isn't getting this done isn't a this year project. But would we be able to team up when highways comes through and get that same company to zip down there? Would that save us any money?
My recommendation would be to bump this project to 2026. And give us more time to do some more, like internally do some more investigation into some of the stuff down there.
What do you mean stuff, the stuff down?
Well,
The underground?
the water aspect of the underground. The sewer line has been televised. Some of the areas of the water has been looked at, but I know that there's areas that have been upgraded, and I just haven't gotten to finding those documents that will prove that those areas have been upgraded and can be taken out of this estimate, which could save us a couple $100,000 or more. That's why, being that we are even if we went forward with this would be tight to get done this year now anyway. That would be my recommendation. I don't know what Mike feels about it, but
I looked at it, I tried to pick apart where we could save money on the top side of the road and the sidewalks, and I can't find anything. I can't find
or
I mean, we don't have to put the sidewalk in there, that would save us money, but is that, I think we should go forward, you know, and try to make things better. And if we don't put a sidewalk there, well, I think we're going backwards. So I couldn't find anything for my part that I could save money.
or we break it up and do it in 2 different parts rather than the whole thing all at once.
We've gotta do the underground stuff obviously first,
Yes.
but you're saying you need more time to sort out. So like you want the, kinda like this fiscal year to find out what needs to be replaced and then bring that back in 26 and then
Well, by
27 do the top, is that?
By the time we get this, I want to hydro back down to the actual water lines and verify that some of the information from the past is correct, because we do find information in the past that are not matching up with what is on our maps. And that would take us time to get that into place, and I'm thinking that we'll save money if we do that. But it has to be physically verified.
And the cost of physically verifying it, is it
Would be-
just our time
Would
or
be internal.
internal?
So, we talked about, like, say, splitting it up and do the underground 1 year. I was thinking about this too, because we have lots of roads out there that are like this after construction, and it's because of settling. Well, I asked the engineers on Friday, if we did the underground 1 year, and then a year or 2 later do the top side, they said that would probably be a 10 to 15% cost more, like 300 to 450,000 to do that. So that kind of made me think differently on how, why it's all done in one time.
The other thing I wonder about when we're talking about the underground, when we go to these conferences, you see a lot of these companies that talk about, you know, shooting in some kind of materials that coats the water, you know, the sewer lines and the water lines for that matter. And then you don't have to replace them as quick, you know, they would last longer. But
You can do that as long as your pipes are not like this.
okay.
And our pipes are like
And our
that.
pipes are like that.
I would
We
imagine
also-
especially on that street.
We have also did pipe bursting in the past for water lines. But if you don't know the depth of the sewer line that comes out of the house, all that does is bust their service. And we've had that happen in the past where we've had to go back and fix those residential services because the pipe bursting went at the same level. They were just barely coming over top of the water line to start with to get grade. So we've experienced that type of work as well.
All right, so what do you guys want to do with this one?
Give them a year or however long it is.
A recommendation or from administration is wait a year, look into it a little bit more, have it on the next budget, capital request. I see some nodding around the table. Everybody's all right with that? Okay,
And it gives us the opportunity, hopefully, if they're coming through doing the main highway,
maybe we can.
maybe we can piggyback and get them. Because what's 2 blocks gonna be for them, right? A day.
Well, it's the underground that takes the
I know,
time.
but do that, but then, you know, if we coordinate it, time it, right? Have the underground stuff done, and then they're coming through.
There's a possibility, yes.
All right, let's take a 10-minute break before we keep going on these things, and then